On Friday, this guy, he comes to Masjid Ja'far in Al-Fareda, which is the girls' masjid, where they attend their prayers, where they spent Ramadan, where they did their Taraweeh. I sit on his left-hand side. Another attorney sits on his right-hand side, because we still don't know what this guy is going to do. The topic of today's khutbah is change begins with you. And this is reflected in a powerful verse in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, which means that He, Allah, does not change the condition of a people until and unless they change what is within themselves. Allah is promising you that your world around you will not change. Can you imagine this? That's the promise. Allah promises it's not going to change until you change what is within yourself. And yet, subhanAllah, many of us are stuck in this phase, in these conversations that we have with one another, that inshallah things will get better. Inshallah this thing will improve. Inshallah the conditions overseas will change. We engage in wishfully thinking that things will improve on their own. We make dua that, Ya Allah, unsur ikhwanina fi Gaza. And of course, we should make that dua. Allahumma unsur ikhwanina fi Gaza. Say Ameen. It doesn't stop there. But we think sometimes that by virtue of the dua alone, things will magically change. But even miracles require movement. So what's the reason for this lack of action? Why do we not act and instead rely upon planning or thinking or pontificating about how things can get better and not act? Yet how many times in the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Those who believe, those who have faith and do good deeds. So the action is tied into the faith. In fact, if you have no action, it's an indication that your faith is incomplete. Well, part of the analysis is that whenever we act, we don't see results immediately, and we want to. We want to see results immediately. You have to act. You cannot wait. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us that if you want miracles to happen, you must move. Even miracles require movement. In fact, if we look at the story of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, at the point in time when his companions all said that Pharaoh is going to overtake us, and they all say, Inna lamudrakun, we are finished, there's nowhere else to go. The army is behind us, the sea is in front of us. What did he say? He said, Kalla, nay, no, Allah is with me. Rabbi, He is with me. My Lord is with me, He will guide. And then he took the first step, and the miracle happens. The sea splits. He didn't wait for it to split. He actually steps forward and the sea splits. What I would like to impress upon you today is that you're not the author of the result. Allah controls the result. You control the effort. The effort is in your hands. The results are in God's hands. Even in the example of Maryam alayha salam, she is enduring the discomfort, and that's to put it mildly, the agony of delivering. She is in that painstaking process of delivering Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. And yet, the command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, وَهُزِّي, shake. If you've ever seen, if you're married and you've seen your wife give birth, does she have any energy to shake a palm tree? Even outside of you delivering. Shaking a palm tree? If you are in a position of discomfort, if you are feeling exhausted, if you are feeling broken, if you are feeling helpless, the instruction still is move. We think to ourselves, why should I sacrifice and go through this hardship and go through this difficulty if I don't see the results? I must see the results before I have to act. You must move. You want to see a miracle in your life? You want to see a miracle in the world? You have to move. Because Allah promises that He will not change the condition of a people until and unless they change what is within themselves. And even miracles require movement. We just recently saw our Muslim sister who used to work for Microsoft, Ibtihal Abu Sa'd. What did we all see? We saw the video of her in the Microsoft 50th anniversary function, and she stood up and she said, I'm not going to take part in this because genocide is on your hands. This AI tool that you are boasting about is writing codes to murder children, and I'm not going to take part in that. She was recently interviewed by Sheikh Umar Sulaiman, and she tells him, I was thinking about protesting for a long time. I did not want my name to be amongst the names of those that write the code for genocide. So she says, I made istikhara for 7 days, before the event. I said, Ya Allah, make it easy for me. Ya Allah, please alleviate and illuminate my path. And so the day came. And subhanallah, they placed her the farthest point from the stage. And she was thinking to herself, Ya Allah, my intention here is to protest, is to disrupt, to put Microsoft on notice that what they're doing is that they're helping fund this genocide. And while this conversation is happening with herself, a lady from the event function comes to her and says, you're not going to be able to listen to what's going on. Let me bring you closer to the front of the stage. And she says, subhanallah, Allah is facilitating this for me, right? And now she's literally within 10, 20 feet of the stage. And of course, you would think that this person, much like our circumstances, has so much to lose, and she does. And we learned later that she was fired from Microsoft. What she worked for, right? The diploma that she received, the credentials that she had obtained, the work history that she was able to put on her resume, gone. And yet she moved and was fired. Based on that narrow lens, we can look at her disruption and say, yeah, you should have kept your mouth closed. You lost your job. You lost your only method of making money. That's not good. You shouldn't have done that. However, we don't see the good deeds that she has in the scale of good deeds in the akhirah. We don't see that. We don't even see what goodness can come out of it today. Sheikh Umar Sulaiman happened to come to Atlanta, and he shared with us that now Ibtihal Abu Sa'd is a full-time employee at Yaqeen Institute, which is his organization that has 130 employees, that now, rather than her efforts help write the code for the genocide, now her effort is being utilized to actually fight the propaganda and the Zionist machinery. It's difficult. It's tough to do. And yet, Allah is not interested in the result. He is interested in your effort. Just like the example in Surah Yasin of the man that comes from the farthest end of the city. He comes to the village. There's 3 messengers there. He starts communicating to these very hostile group of people. He starts debating them. How can I not worship the only one Rabb? Why should I worship any other Rabb except the one Ilah, the one true God? And what does he receive for his trouble? He was killed. And you may think to yourself, man, this guy left his entire family, he left his entire lifestyle, he left everything that he knows only to be killed. And furthermore, we can assess possibly that the way he is killed is in a very horrific, gruesome way, that he's trampled to death. From a very short-sighted position, you may think to yourself, what a lost cause. But we know from the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قِيلَ دُخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ. It is said, enter paradise. And that man who was possibly stomped to death, trampled upon, he still has concern for his people. Now that we see what was not seen, me and you can conclude that that was an amazing effort. In fact, it's memorialized in the Quran, so much so that it's memorialized more than the 3 messengers combined. This unnamed man who came from the farthest end of the city, his effort is memorialized more than the 3 messengers combined. So that's from a Quranic example. But subhanAllah, just recently, there was an opportunity that even I missed, but we saw immediate action, and I want to share it with you. You may have heard of the 3 ladies in the parking deck at the Avalon that were verbally assaulted by a gentleman in a Tesla truck. Did y'all see that video? That was on Eid Day, not too long ago. On Eid Day, they're celebrating Eid al-Fitr. And they actually take the time to pray in a parking deck away from everybody, not bothering anyone. When this guy in a Tesla truck starts verbally assaulting them, they have the wherewithal to take out their video camera and start recording, thinking that as soon as he sees them videotaping, he'd stop. But he only becomes more emboldened in what he was saying. He continues. For 3 minutes he continues. And mashallah, the Muslim sisters, they kept their composure, their calm. They say, we didn't even bother you. How did we obstruct you in any way? What did we do to you? And he says, you follow a satanic religion. He's spewing hatred. He says, go back to your country, even though they're all American citizens. And then he finally leaves. But when I saw the video, in that time, when I saw the video, I was like, subhanAllah, this is horrible. What can we do about this? I was thinking from a legal perspective, there's really not much you can do. There's freedom of speech in this country. They first reached out to CARE Georgia, the Council on American Islamic Relations, but CARE responded and said, look, this was really bad, but there's freedom of speech in this country. He really didn't do anything physically against you guys, so we can't really do anything. We can't take any action. There's not really any legal grounds to file a lawsuit or anything like that because there's freedom of speech. I saw the video personally, and I was taking a good look, and I'm like, subhanAllah, this has come to our doorsteps. There's not really much one can do because there is freedom of speech. Hate speech is not a crime. A hate crime is a crime, but hate speech isn't a crime. But my brother Ali, he saw the video and he had a completely different response. He said, we cannot allow this to happen to our Muslim sisters. It cannot happen. He said, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to represent the 3 girls because I believe this is intentional infliction of emotional distress. Therefore, I'm going to use my social media presence and I'm going to leverage that to humiliate this guy and represent these 3 girls. And I said, Ali, this is tough to prove. He said, it doesn't matter because if they can do it to those girls wearing the hijab, they can do it to our sisters, they can do it to our wives. What if he did it to our mom? What would you do? Like, hey, I'm with you. Let's go. And so on Wednesday, he was retained as attorney of record for the 3 girls. For what cause of action, still unclear, but now he represents them. Thursday, the same guy reaches out to my brother Ali, he's CEO lawyer online, reaches out to him personally and says, hey, can we meet? Ali calls me and says, hey, this guy wants to have a conversation. What should I do? I said, hey, if he wants to talk, let's talk. I said, take his call, but make sure it's on Zoom so it's recorded. So call is recorded. Gentleman seems sincere and now wants to come to the masjid. So Ali says, if you come to the masjid, tomorrow's Friday, Jum'ah, we would like you to attend the sermon. On Friday, this guy, he comes to Masjid Ja'far in Alpharetta, which is the girls' masjid, where they attend their prayers, where they spent Ramadan, where they did their tarawih. I sit on his left-hand side. Another attorney sits on his right-hand side, because we still don't know what this guy is going to do. He sits down with the 3 girls and their families, and for 20 minutes, the media didn't see this because this was a private conversation, but I'm telling you because I was there. For 20 minutes, he apologizes to these girls. Following that 20-minute conversation, he attends the Jum'ah khutbah at Masjid Ja'far in Alpharetta with Imam Abdullah Jabir giving the sermon. And I'm sitting right next to him. The guy's asking questions. He wants to know, hey, what's going on? I'm uneducated. Please let me know. Help me. What's going on? Following the entire sermon, and then after, publicly, he goes out and he apologizes again to the community. We're very clear and say, hey, this doesn't mean it's over, but we appreciate someone who comes to our community, wants to be held accountable. We appreciate that. We're not going to repel that. We're not going to reject that because that's not the prophetic tradition. No matter how hostile you were, if now you are willing to humble yourself and put your head down and come to the community, we're open to that. And that's what he does. Now, the case is not done at that point in time. That was Friday, but I'm just giving you the chronology of events. Sunday, the video. Tuesday, became viral. Wednesday, the representation. Thursday, he reached out. Friday, public apology that has been seen and was posted actually on CNN, national news. They've reached a monetary settlement, and he donates $75,000 to the masjid, the same masjid that the girls pray. But can you imagine? Can you imagine how fast things developed because one person decided to take action? One person said, look, this could be my sister that is assaulted like that. This could be my mother that is assaulted like that. We have to do something. Now, I ask you, who could have anticipated all of this from happening? Do you see the difference there? Do you see how much change occurred? But how did it begin? It began with one person saying, I'm going to do something. I'm going to act. It takes one act. It takes action. No matter how much you plan, ponder, think about what you're going to do, that's not enough. No matter how much you make dua, and dua is important, it's still incomplete. It requires action. It requires movement. It requires sacrifice. And I get it. Your family depends on you. If you're a student, your parents are probably telling you, tone it down a little bit. You don't want them to come after you. You don't want to be too visible. You don't want to be too vocal. These are some of the common concerns our parents have, right? But I assure you, someone is going to have to make the sacrifice. If it's not you, it's going to be your children. If it's not them, it's going to be their children. Whatever happens, the sacrifice has to be made. You have to make the sacrifice. There's a very nice quote that I want to share with you all. And that quote is, the magic that you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding. The magic that you're looking for is in the work you are avoiding. Think to yourself and ask this question. What is it in my life that I'm just avoiding? You can't just sit still and expect to stand out. You must move. Because if you are averse to taking risk, you'll never grow. If you're averse to having conversations with a loved one or a colleague about what is going on, then guess what? The result of not having that conversation is 1,000 times worse. What is it that you're avoiding? And here is something that I am sure you know, but it's worthy of reminding. There are people around you and in your circles. They could be brothers, sisters, children, parents, colleagues that are watching you. They're watching you to see how you move. So I leave you with this, that before the day ends, when you have an opportunity to go back to different circles in your community. Maybe it's your work circle. Maybe it's your neighborhood that you live in. Think about what you can do, an actionable item, a conversation that must be had, something that you can do differently to better inform the circle that you're in on what is going on. Not only in Gaza, but in different parts of the world. But the key is find an actionable item. You have to step up. You have to think of your role that you play, the career that you're in. What can you do about what's going on? They're waiting for you to move. So it's not just your responsibility to move. You also have a responsibility to those who look up to you. They're waiting for you. They're waiting for you to make a stance, to speak up. Because once you post, they will repost. Once you get up, they will get off the fence as well. The problem is, we wait for others. We wait on them to rescue us. Guess what? No one will rescue you. No one will rescue you. You are your own rescue, but you have to change what's in your heart first. And do not capitulate to the idea that things are going to get better by themselves. Because naturally, the default setting is things decay and rot. They don't improve. The weeds do not take any effort to grow in your garden. You have to put in effort. Understand this. The result is in Allah's hands. The effort is in your hands. But the common theme is we don't like to wait. We want immediate gratification. So what I would like to impress upon you is have faith that your good deeds will be rewarded. Have faith that whatever good effort that you put out there, it will be rewarded. I just want to remind you of the 30th verse in Surah Al-Kahf, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ إِنَّا لَا نُضِيعُ أَجْرَ مَنْ أَحْسَنَ عَمَلًا. That those who believe and do good deeds, verily, their efforts will not be wasted. Their reward will not be wasted. But I remind myself, before I remind all of you, when that whisper of shaitan comes in and says, you know, if you do this, you're not going to get any credit. You know, if you do this, nobody will really know about it. You should probably post it on social media. You should probably do this with it so you can get the credit that you deserve. Remind yourself that, do you want credit from the creation or do you want credit from the Creator? So I impress upon all of you that we be sincere in our actions. That when we put forth any type of effort, that we seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's reward. Now, reward may come from the creation as well. Because I asked my sheikh this question. I said, Sheikh, you know, if I come to Fajr prayer, you know, people know what I do for a living. And so they may come to me and they may ask me questions. And I may develop a relationship with Team Fajr, the members of Team Fajr that come in the morning for Fajr prayer. And potentially from that communication and interaction, I derive some benefit. What does that do to my intention, to my sincerity? Because I want to come in for Fajr prayer to please my Creator. And yet, it's inevitable that conversation happens and interaction happens and there is some derived benefit. How can I reconcile these two things? And the answer was simple. هَلْ جَزَاءُ الْإِحْسَانِ إِلَّا الْإِحْسَانِ. That shall the reward for good be anything but good? So the beauty is you're still going to receive good. It's still going to come back to you. How many times have we experienced this situation where somebody came up to you and said, brother, you may not remember me, but I remember you. You did such and such and such 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I remember that you did that. And wallahi, I've not forgotten it. Has that happened to you? It's happened. People don't forget, and the reward comes. Just don't wait for it, because guess what? It won't come on your time or my time. It will come on Allah's time. But it will come because it has been promised. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the capacity for sincerity. Ameen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase our capacity to do more good. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ignore the naysayers, the doubters. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us complete conviction that everything is in His hands, but the effort is in our hands.